I love the setup and the premise of these girls growing up with this guy and tempting, and then you can't get rid of them, and they can completely unravel your life. So it was kind of the jumping off point of an inspiration. But then there were other films like Fatal Attraction, even Roman Polanski's Death and the Maiden, Hard Candy, but really Fatal Attraction. I was thinking there is no movie that's like this, that early Polanski, Verhoeven, the old Adrian Lyne film, that I wanted to make Fatal Attraction for the millennials, that for the modern generation, and something that showed the difference between, I'm 43, and I was looking at the Instagram, I think it was my co-writer's younger sister, Lorenza's younger sister, and they're like 14, 15 years old, and their friends, the way the girls sexualize themselves, you cannot tell if the girls are 15 or 25 unless you're that age. It's like, it's kind of shocking. So we wanted to. I've also noticed that. I've been married we've been married for 9 months or less than a year. But a lot of my friends who got married right in their 20s would say to me, oh, what's it like? Are these, the girls that are young now? Are they that much crazier? Growing up with internet pornography, like there's this curiosity. And if you look at the Ashley Madison hack, that's 37.1 million people that are paying to have an affair with their spouse. So that obviously it's just timing that happened, but I really wanted to make, the Cabin Fever, Hostel, and Green Inferno, my first films, I would call them my travel trilogy. It's these smart kids that are smart enough to know better, that go out into the world and they find trouble. Cabin Fever, they're going for partying, hostel,
punished
sex,
mercilessly.
Amazon, it's for this kind of vanity activism where they just want to be trending, and they get eaten. So this I wanted to show about what happens when trouble comes into your own home and you open Pandora's box, because your home is supposed to be your castle, and that's where you're safest, and that's the world you've built. But what happens when that temptation, it's the free pizza theory, if a free pizza shows up at 2 in the morning and you could get away with it, all guys would take the pizza.
Yeah, that's the thing. The premise of it felt like, to me, married guys that I've talked to have always been like, oh, I would never cheat on my wife, unless 2 beautiful naked women showed up at my door, and then I just couldn't help it. And it seems like we start there, and we go to this place where it's like, well, you could help it, and this could potentially be what happens.
Sure. I think that what the movie's really about is, there's difference. There's obviously the generational difference between people in their 40s and people in their teens, but also showing how social media plays a part in it now, that in Fatal Attraction, you could do this, and maybe your wife found out, your kids, your neighbors, the people you work with. But now there is no such thing as privacy anymore, that anything you do in the privacy of your own home is completely broadcast to the world. And someone in their 40s wouldn't think that way, but someone in their teenagers, in their 20s, absolutely would. But it's also about the way people don't confront unhappiness in a relationship, that if you don't confront it, it's going to come out one way or another. That it looks like Keanu's this happy guy and he has kids, but when you watch the movie, you see his wife's not having sex with him, and he does this little monster voice, and she's like, no, I'm not having sex. Sorry. Like, you can tell he's kind of frustrated in the relationship. And that's what the movie's about, how when you're unhappy in a relationship and you don't deal with it, it's going to come out in your behavior one way or another.